Hey, there is a Republican solution to healthcare. Wow. For all those naysayers out there that said, well, what are you going to bring forth? Well, we're going to talk about it today here on the DPB show. I so appreciate you joining us here Tuesdays, Thursdays, and not this Thursday, because this Thursday is gobble, 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 gobble. Yeah, you got it. That was my impression of a turkey. Hold on. That did not come out as well as I usually get it to do. Let me get a little lubrication in the throat here. Gobble, 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 gobble. There, a little better. Turkey Day, Thursday, Thanksgiving. We will be taking off Thanksgiving, no DPB show, so enjoy your family. And as Mrs. Producer has cautioned people on her Facebook page, hey, this isn't a time to debate right versus left, Republican versus Democrat, Ukraine versus Russia. What else do we have going on? Healthcare, the Affordable Healthcare Act versus the More Affordable Healthcare Act. This is not a time for any of that. In fact, do your best to talk about things that really matter. Issues like your 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 family, your connection with your family, the love you have for your family, what your kids are doing, what they're enjoying. Um, so much times Thanksgivings of days gone by. Those are the things that matter. So, as I said, this is the Thanksgiving show, or I should say, the eve of Thanksgiving show. So, we're going to make the most of it. That's what we're supposed to be doing. As I said, Republican solution is on the table for healthcare. We're hoping that we can see a Democrat solution. Hey, I'm a bipartisan guy when we're talking about fixing things. I'm all about it. Let's come up with the best solution. Um, Once again, thank you on Facebook, uh, Rumble, YouTube, and X. We can't do it without you. Obviously, the comment section is always open. And just so you know, I was thinking about this today. I took a trip down to Springfield. I was asked to help in a matter that is important when we have fair and free elections, whether it's a primary or a general election. I went down and represented my friend Darren Bailey and his campaign, Bailey Delmar, in an objection to a petitioner, uh, or I should say a candidate, who put forth a petition packet. And there was, some obvious concerns about the signatures and the amount of signatures, and were they really true signatures. So I went ahead and took place and was driving down to Springfield today, and I started thinking a little bit about the DPB show. And I think it's kind of this time of Thanksgiving, we talk about the things that we're that we're grateful for, that we're thankful for, the abundance, the bountiful harvest, the bountiful life we live here, despite all of the nuances and all the craziness, and what we believe is, obviously, um, an attack on our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are matters that do matter. But reflecting on this show, hey, Pam, it's good to see you watching. Happy Tea Day, DPB and Mrs. Producer. Thank you. Um, but this show is not based on, as you know, I ran for office, through running for office, public office, where I too submitted a petition packet in order to uh, get on the ballot. And of course, if my petitions were objected to, I would have to go and make the proper decisions to make sure that I could either be on the ballot or not. If I did not have the adequate signatures or the proper signatures, valid signatures, then I should have been on the ballot. But getting back to my point, this is not a well, it is a talk show to some degree. I love and I prefer to have people on the DPB show. Excuse me. Flying solo is not my gig. I can do it. I don't. it is what it is, right? But I do prefer to have guests. I do to prefer to have people like Lieutenant Governor candidate Aaron Delmar, who did an amazing job, right? A little applause. They had, I mean, unbelievable job. Hoping to get Darren on here as soon as we um, get to the point where Darren feels comfortable coming back on the DPB show. I'm not here to rush him. Obviously, I don't understand the pain, the mourning, the utter just heartbreak that took place on October 22nd in the Bailey household. So we're not a talk show per se. We're a show where we have people that converse and talk about their lives and what they're doing. And I'm not a journalist, I'm an opinion person, right? I look at the news like this healthcare situation, like Ukraine in the decision made today for a peace treaty. And I just kind of break those down. And I want to obviously communicate that to you as people who are willing to go out, follow, subscribe to my different channels where I'm doing this show live Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5, but also it constantly hangs out there, right? In whatever Kamala said that is up there, right? The stratosphere. Um, and you guys will listen to those recordings, but really mostly what this is about is interaction with you, like Pam jumping in here on the comment section. She's watching, and all of you that jump in here and comment. This is really a show about you guys because I want your opinions too. It's just not my opinion. It's just not how I see the world. It's not my perspective alone. I believe that truly in what this Constitution behind me states is that we have that First Amendment right to free speech, and we should utilize it more often. We tend to cower away from it, but that's what we're about, right? So let's just get it right into it. The Republican solution for healthcare. I've really become enamored by this young lady who is not a journalist either. She is someone who, and in fact, I want to go into her little bio real quick before getting too deep into this healthcare discussion. But she's pretty amazing. Here, I'll pop her page open so we can just get a little idea who Janet Elaine Parks is. She's become someone who I obviously she's got 41,000 followers, but I want to go to her about section. I hope you guys can all see this. I better jump back to the screen and make sure you guys can all see this. Okay, you can. It's all good. But Janet, it's kind of fascinating what she puts out there, right? She's the CEO and owner of Simply Sustainable Academy and works at Solutions for Sellers. Past employment, uh, she was at AT&T. She lives in sunny Florida and Tampa. I have family in the Tampa Bay area, but she also talks a lot about being a stay-at-home mom, and she's kind of really bold with how she presents her opinion. She's once again is an opinion person. Um, let's see if I can go backwards on this. Yeah, there we go. But here's this Health Freedom Accounts. This is the newest release by the Republican Party, the Trump administration. A new health care proposal, what's actually inside the More Affordable Care Act, catchy as that can be, right? The uh, versus the Affordable Care Act, the More Affordable Care Act. There's been a lot of confusion online about whether Republicans have offered a replacement or alternative to ACA, but reporter Desiree Townsend, Washington, D.C., just broke down the first major proposal introduced since Thursday's Senate remarks. Here are the verified facts about Rick Scott's proposed bill. Hey, shout out to Rick Scott. Hold on, I'm going to jump up and definitely give a shout out so you can see me. Rick Scott is someone who resided right here where I am from in Central Illinois. Rick was a graduate of Normal Community High School in Normal, Illinois. Rick became not only a congressman in Florida, but a governor, and then now a United States senator. Rick is a very successful businessman. He has come back to his hometown often to share ideas. I wish he would spend some time counseling the governor of Illinois, who still has, as I've shared with you, a little bit over a year in this current term. We're hopeful that next November there will be a changing of governors in Illinois. We can only hope, right? But health freedom accounts, Rick Scott, this is his proposal that has come forward. And so we can't be any prouder than Rick for doing this. So once again, the bill's name, the More Affordable Care Act. This is the official title of the legislation. Its purpose is to give Americans an alternative path to the Affordable Care Act, ACA, but only in states that choose it. Now, think about this. Governor Pritzker of Illinois has recently put forth a Get Covered Illinois. I call it Cover Up Illinois because it kind of goes along with the politics in Illinois. Everything's a cover up, everything's corruption. But if you choose it, states must apply for a waiver. This plan does not replace the Affordable Care Act. Let me repeat that. This plan does not replace the Affordable Care Act nationwide. Each state can decide, stay with the ACA or apply for a waiver and adopt the new program. This puts control back into the hands of the states, not the federal government. Hallelujah. These are HSA, which are health savings accounts. That's what it says there, tied directly to an individual's, once again, tied directly to individuals, I'm sorry, not insurance companies. Once again, bypassing the insurance companies, HSAs, health savings accounts. Here's how they work. Taxpayer money would be deposited directly into your account, not to an insurer, to you. The funds roll over every year, which means a young adult could build hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term healthcare savings by retirement age. Are you kind of sensing this is a pretty good little plan? Kind of, tongue in cheek, Trump was wanting to give the savings from tariffs back to people. It was $2,000. That's nothing like this. Not just gold, silver, bronze. They could offer catastrophic plans, alternative plans, more flexible state designed options, restrictions in the bill. Okay, here we go. Funds from these accounts cannot be used for abortions, gender affirming, transitioning treatments. This is expected to be major point of conflict with Democrats. Safeguards for pre-existing conditions. Any state opting out of the ACA must create a high-risk pool. This ensures people with pre-existing conditions are still covered. The fraud concern, Desiree Townsend raised an important warning because the money follows the patient, not insurers. This could attract scam clinics, fake providers, fraudsters exploiting HSA. She suggests adding severe penalties, 10 years plus fines, provider registry so funds can only be spent on verified, approved caregivers. And she plans to raise these issues with senators after recess. Potential benefits when used correctly. According to the report, many Americans, especially young adults, might choose catastrophic coverage, save unused funds annually, build a large healthcare nest egg, pay for nursing home or elderly care decades later. Hallelujah. This would create portable, accumulating healthcare savings uniquely tied to individuals. What happens next? After Thanksgiving recess, senators from both parties will weigh in. Amendments may be added. Safeguards could be included. We'll learn whether this has the support to pass before January. Townsend will be getting direct statements from lawmakers when they return. Bottom line, this proposal is the first, once again, for all the people out there questioning whether there's been solutions. Well, here you go. We just had the vote, right, for the continuing resolution. What wasn't included was, of course, everybody's going to lose their health insurance. The premiums are going to spike, which they did. I'm going to get into that here after I cover this article. But the proposal is the first major Republican alternative to the Affordable Care Act in years. Yes, I wish my friend Chris Haig, who is vacationing in probably, I think he's sunny Florida, is not with me today. I wish he were here so he can comment. I want to get his comments on this. From federal control to state flexibility, once again, that's what our founders intended uh, uh, you know, our country to run like. It was a bunch of separate states working the United States of America. Yes, there's federal government, but truly the control, the power should be in the states, in the hands of the states. Now, granted, that could be good, that could be bad. It depends on what state you're in. Obviously, the state of Florida is producing people like Elaine and Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis and many, many others. Um, whether it passes or not, it signals a new direction in the healthcare debate. What do you think? And so I'm asking you guys, what do you think? Would you support a system where you control the funds, plans designed at the state level, long term rollover of healthcare savings, catastrophic options, restrictions on certain procedures, or safeguards against fraud? Curious to hear your thoughts. Faith, family, freedom. I love she always ends her articles with that. But what a dynamic voice she is. And once again, she's not a journalist. She's she is just a concerned citizen who does a very good job about breaking things down with just the facts. In fact, how about that? Play on words. We know that healthcare is broken. There's no question about it. I just received my newest updated bill for my Blue Cross Blue Shield. Many of you probably also received that. Happy Thanksgiving week, David and Mrs. Producer. A lot of people saying Mrs. Producer. I love it. Sounds promising. Yes, Pam, it does. But I received my bill, and like many of you, if you have a policy that isn't provided by an employer, then you're out on marketplace and you're purchasing your own health insurance. Fortunately, in my household, our household, Mrs. Producer and I, she has a retirement insurance program that she was able to take advantage of after retirement through the teacher retirement services. Yours truly, I used to be on Mrs. Producer's insurance because it was a Cadillac program. I had to, as of last September, I had to go out and get my own, which I did. And my premium going in, and that was last September, my premium going in to no or December uh, was raised almost $1,100 a month. Granted, um, most people probably experience something at that level, if not greater. The caveat is if you get the Get Covered Illinois plan or the Cover Up Illinois plan, if your threshold of earnings is at a certain level, of course, they engineered it right. They went out through the voting pool and they kind of structured it so that most people um, will be able to get additional stipends back. Their benefits will be paid for by taxpayer funded because of their earnings and their threshold of earnings. People who make over 84,000, I think, is roughly about where the number is. Those folks will get Zippo, Nada. In fact, their premiums are higher than if they went to the marketplace policies like I had, which mine went up $1,100. One of the things Mrs. Producer suggested I do, and that was to look at the market or the health share plans, which yours truly went out and I looked at the different companies. You've heard them on advertised, many of them. I'm sure there's a lot of good ones. I landed on one called Samaritan Ministries. Why? Because that's who I am, right? That's who a lot of you folks are. You're faithful people. Well, this company is impressive. I had some friends and acquaintances who actually were part of Samaritan Ministries. I researched it, went on. Their providers are called Redeemed. I love it. You had to go through a series of questions. One of the things that you had to answer if you wanted to take advantage or to be a part, not take advantage, but be a part, and I guess you're taking advantage of a of a pooling of of people's money and resources, where you share in the good times and the bad times for other families going through healthcare issues. Um, is they asked you if you're a believer. Laura, it's good to see you. Thank you. I have Samaritan Ministries too. Laura, I'm as of a week ago, I am a member of Samaritan, which they asked you a question: Are you a believer? You believe in Jesus Christ? And of course, yep. And then there was a series of other questions like, do you drink alcohol to the point of getting drunk? Not till you drink alcohol. Obviously, you can still enjoy a glass of wine, a beer. It's stating, like the Bible says, that we're not supposed to consume alcohol to the point of drunkenness. Well, all these questions are out there, and I'm like, wow, this is really good. Why didn't I look earlier into something like this? My premium for what I put in, and they don't call it a premium, my monthly allotment, or the amount that I put out per month for my health share plan, um, is about the same I was paying on the Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm looking forward to it once again, and out of the box thinking. I know many of you are probably scrambling right now. If you're not insured by an employer, if you are, well, stay where your employer is, because they're going to get this thing levelized out. As you just saw, the Republicans aren't playing games anymore with the Democrats. That's evidenced in this whole craziness of this retired captain from the United States Navy, who happens to be a U.S. senator, and his colleagues that are in the House on the Democrat ticket coming out and making egregious comments about lawful behavior and unlawful behavior in our military, and warning people that they don't have to listen to unlawful orders given by the president, which, once again, another precedent set by the radical left and the Democrat Party. I mean, this is the hill they want to die on. Well, they're going to find out, and we're going to cover that here in a minute, because that came out from the Department of War. Pete Hegseth released something on Senator Mark Kelly. I want to get to that too. But the insurance piece is going to get resolved. I believe that is going to happen in Trump's second term. The momentum is there. We know where the bodies are, right? We know who the players are. We know who's responsible. And this has been going on for decades. And it's unfortunate, because families are truly suffering, and families are scrambling, trying to figure out how they have affordable health care. But that's my solution at this point. Um, I will plug Samaritan Ministries. Go out, research it for yourself. There's others out there. I just happen to be uh, a fan of Samaritan Ministries. So if you're looking for a healthcare option, go out there. Health savings accounts, I am, you know what? I will be looking into that if they pass it. Mark, my wife is ready to retire early. Cobra is real expensive. Can you share other healthcare companies that you thought were solid? Well, Mark, when it comes to health care companies, obviously your insurance companies, obviously I had a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. I don't have a lot. I don't believe there's anybody that isn't getting caught up from the insurance company standpoint into these crazy programs. I would suggest, once again, these health share programs, they, which I want to make sure I'm not saying healthcare companies, um, health share programs, because they're truly unique. There's MetaShare. Um, you've heard the advertisements. I guess I could do a quick Google search. Maybe Mrs. Producer can put that out to our artificial intelligence real quick. But there are many. There's a whole list of them, and they're uniquely ranked in what they do provide. It just so happens that Samaritan Ministries was one that I had some affiliation with, knew people that were on staff with them that were working through Samaritan Ministries. And it just, for me, it was just a bang, bang decision. I had a lot going on in my life, and, or my wife and I have a lot going on in our lives. And so it was something I wanted to resolve quickly, without coming up against a uh, bill for almost $1,200 to have monthly insurance, which, I guess, I in full disclosure, $12,000, $14,000 additionally a year to carry a Blue Cross Blue Shield. You know, could Mrs. Producer and I try to swing something like that? Yeah, I mean, there are many families that they have to tighten their belt. They probably can. I don't believe that we should have to. Once again, we, the people, did not break the healthcare system. And I appreciate companies like Samaritan, Medishare, who are willing to go out and to create a company where it's unique. It's people helping people. That's what I love about it. It's families helping families. I know that's not the best answer, Mark. My friend Mark, thanks for joining us, Mark. I too keep up with you on social media, so keep fighting the good fight. Yeah, as I find out more, like I said, I'm in uncharted waters myself because this just came online for me just when I received my monthly statement after they voted to pass the continuing resolution or settling the vote. Um, and so I think this is for a lot of us. This is areas where we just aren't very well versed. All right, I think I beat the horse a little bit on the healthcare. Go out there, and share comments with your friends and family about this. Um, Pass that article along. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Producer, put it up there for me. Christian Med Sharing, Health Share, America's Health Share, Altrua Health Share, Liberty Health Share, One Share Health, Sedera. I mean, the list goes on and on. I specifically asked Siri or artificial intelligence, I don't know which chat I was using, but they ranked them, Medishare being up there very high. Christian Medisharing, I don't remember them, but Samaritan was one of the companies that was rated very high. And of course, once again, how this works is the pooling of money and taking care of the expenses, the medical expenses for those families and individuals who are part of this sharing program. They get rated because they handle, the medical providers. They go in. So you go into your doctor. I'll just give you a little background. I don't want to give you too much of it because I don't know that much. They go into your providers, or you go into the emergency room. You share that you're part of a share program. They take the documentation. Then in steps that company, that sharing company like Samaritan, and they have professional negotiators, and they negotiate the price. And in order to get the best, deal they can, and then they pay that. What do you have out of pocket? Well, there is limits for the different programs through Redeemed. I happen to be on the enhanced program, and I think my deductible is either $3,000 or $6,000. I'd have to wait until I get my packet. I'm new on it. Once again, this is all coming to light. MTG was right. Republicans haven't worked on an alternative to Obama. They haven't, Mark. Yep, they haven't. You're spot on. I believe that was something they had to address before the midterm. Chris Haig, our newest member of the DPB show, who is on vacation this week, chartered financial analyst, who he himself had to make a decision on what they were going to do in retirement, like you were suggesting about your wife. And Chris went on the Cover Up program, the Get Covered Illinois program, which is a state program. I doubt if Illinois is going to opt in if this legislation passes put forth by Rick Scott. But and that shouldn't surprise anybody, right? Illinois, New York, California, the blue states aren't going to try to do anything to heal the healthcare industry. And that just came to me, heal. They're not about healing people. They're not about healing what's broken. They like the chaos. They like the corruption. But Chris is able to take advantage of the Get Covered Up or Get Covered Up program in Illinois. And I wish he was here because he would talk more about that, Mark. Um, so there, Chris's point was, if the Republicans don't come up with a solution, it's one thing to just to vote something down, but it's another thing if you never bring viable solutions that are actually going to remedy, to fix, are going to that are going to start to redirect our healthcare industries and to help people be better, feel better, look better. That's all part of the Make America Healthy Again, which is MAHA. So this whole movement is starting. So hats off. But anyhow, that's where we stand. It's good to have a solution. Rick Scott, kudos to Senator Rick Scott. Obviously, somebody coming up with a good thing during this week when we find that one of the senators decided to do something that he's going to be held accountable for. We're going to get that Department of War. But before we do that, um, while I have a couple of you on the line, I want to get into the trenches a little bit more about what took place today down in Springfield. As I shared with you on the beginning of the show, I went down to Springfield. I was part of the observers for an objection to a candidate for governor on the Republican side. I, being a Republican, were uh, I am working with a campaign to get an individual off the ballot. Why? Because the belief is that the presentation or the signatures of petitions that were presented to the Illinois State Board of Elections were probably not meeting the thresholds. You have to have at least 5,000 valid signatures to be on the ballot for governor. Statewide races pretty much similar across the board. One particular candidate, and I'm not going to bring up his name because it'll come out in the media if it's decided. If it's not, if this person's on the ballot, so be it. This is the process we go through. However, based on my experience and what we did today by going and objecting to the petitions and finding out that this candidate had his petitions circulated, which is there is nothing wrong with paying people to circulate petitions. Well, this particular candidate had people that he paid who weren't even from the state of Illinois, which once again is totally above board. But there were a lot of petitions that had a lot of questions. And when you put forth an objection about a signature, an address, whether they're a registered voter, there's a whole list of things that they look for that you can check and object to. And if you don't object to it, well, they're not going to look into that, right? But they will either sustain your objection or they're going to overrule it. Now, you do have an opportunity if they overrule it to go back and appeal that ruling. That's why the process is what it is. And it's good to have a process where this happens. But I'm fascinated by it because I had never taken part in something like this. And I think that all of us should have an understanding of what takes place. You know, we talked about this many weeks ago when we said, get out there, help someone who's circulating petitions, get the signatures they needed. You can sign depending on, you can't sign a Democrat's petition then sign a Republican's, but you can sign, if there's 5 Republicans running for governor, you can sign 5 Republican petitions for a governor, candidates petitions for governor. So it's just part of the process of how we have fair, free elections in our country. And Lord knows there's been enough talk about election integrity, especially coming from yours truly over the years. So I want to be a part of the solution, similar to the Republican Party, putting forth a solution for the More Affordable Healthcare Act. Those are solutions. Physically being present in there and watching the Board of Elections take on this objection to this candidate's petitions, you can't buy that kind of education. It's called experienced wisdom. You learn or experience knowledge. You're learning it as you go. But I'm going to talk more about that. Obviously, uh, by the end of the day, probably right now, there's probably been a decision as far as whether this particular gubernatorial candidate met the threshold of 5,000 valid signatures. So um, I am going to see, and people are texting, asking me about it behind the scenes. See, they know that I was down there, and like I said, it was well worth the time. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to hit this, and I don't know many of you are. Starts with an S, ends with an O. Yeah. Yes, Mark, you got it. Bing, ding, 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 ding. You got the initials right, Mark. Um, Dems like death and destruction and deception. Yes, thank you, Pam. They do. All right. So let's like I said, switch gears. A couple other things have happened, really big things today. I want to get your opinions on it. Please chime in. If you're out there, thank you once again for joining us. I see a lot of you out there. Appreciate you joining us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, or X. Go out, like, subscribe, get involved. Get in the comments section. Let me hear what your feelings are. Two other things that truly I want to cover. One being the Department of War and this Mark Kelly debacle with the little uh, commercial that these guys put forth, the congressional members or congressional members of that joined Mark in advising through this commercial our military members to not follow unlawful orders from the president. Not like that has to be said, because you're told that on day one. You do not have to follow unlawful orders. No one has to do anything against that's against the law. Now, granted, it wasn't law that you had to take an injection, and that's a whole nother thing for COVID. That's why a lot of those people are being reinstated. How that was put forth is pretty crazy, but it bodes to let us know that these things are real. I mean, they in the military there are obviously divides, not as great as the country. The country right now is definitely to some degree, 50-50, 55-45 in a divide. The military, not so much. My son-in-law, who just returned from deployment, is case in point. He'll tell you that, yes, there is individuals, members of the United States Armed Forces, that will think like Mark Kelly. They will share the same ideological perspectives. They're not as many, and once again, if they do hold those feelings, they at least honor what they have pledged to do, which is to live by the Constitution of the United States of America, to protect and defend our borders from both domestic and foreign adversaries. So I'm going to hit upon this real quick and share it with you, just so see if I can pull it up real quick. Here we go. Add to stage screen. No, you know what? I think I did have it pulled up. I just went ahead and X'd it out. I got to. Sorry. Little chess match here. Here it is. The Department of War, let me put it up on the screen. I know you can't see it, and as I'm reading it here, Department of War, let's add it to the stage. You can see some of my friends. Go out, like, and subscribe to the DPB show page on Facebook or to my personal page. By all means, I'm open either way. Love to hear from you. Love to have your insight, but let's see if I can pop this up, open, and make it a little larger. Does it do that? I don't know if I can do that or not. Probably because there's not a picture. I'll just read then. The Department of War has received serious allegations of misconduct against Captain Mark Kelly, USN RET, meaning retired, in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Once again, just because you're retired from the military doesn't mean that you are absolved of all behavior that is inconsistent with um, the military code and other applicable regulations. A thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court martial proceedings and administrative. Now, this is coming from the United States Department of War. Proceedings or administrative measures. This matter will be handled in compliance with the military. Let me see if I can blow this up for you guys. I'll make it a little bigger. How about that? There we go. Um, this matter will be handled in compliance with the military law, ensuring due process and partiality. Further official comments will be limited to preserve the integrity of the proceedings. It goes on to say the Department of War reminds all individuals that military retirees, this is what I was just saying, remain even after your service to our country, you remain subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Did I say that right? Let me make sure I got that right. The Military Code of Military Justice, Uniform uh, Code of Military Justice. Uh, for applicable offenses and federal laws such as 18 U.S.C. 23887 prohibit actions intended to interfere with the loyalty, morale, or good order and discipline of the armed forces. Any violations, any there's got a lot of explaining to do. Obviously, the other members of Congress, if they were had served our country, would be also um, in line to receive a court martial. Uh, any violations will be addressed through appropriate legal channels. All service members are reminded that they have a legal obligation under the UCMJ to obey lawful orders and that orders are presumed to be lawful. Presumed to be lawful. A service member's personal philosophy does not justify or excuse um, the disobedience of an otherwise lawful order. This was issued just this morning, 10:51 a.m., as you can see on the screen. So, folks, this is getting serious. Now, my opinion on what happened here and what is happening, and I was sharing this with Mrs. Producer. I'd love to get your insight to this. Mark Kelly's also out there campaigning right now very heavily and trying to raise funds off of this little political theater event that he just put forth with these other members of Congress. Um, the Democrat Party last week had to go out and borrow the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, the National Party, had to borrow $15 million or they were facing insolvency, meaning they were bankrupt, which the party can be bankrupt. And there's no real protection outside of bankruptcy for that. Um, so they had to go borrow money to save, to stay above board, to stay above water. And part of the problem I see with the Democrat Party right now, as they've lost popularity, as they continue to step on their own feet and they continue to try to destroy Trump at all costs, is they really don't have a bench. And we've talked about this often. The Republican Party has an all-star bench. I don't need to uh, relive the different players on the bench. You can. It's a different show, and I'm sure we'll talk about that at greater length as we approach uh, not only the midterms but more so the 2028 election. But when it comes to the 2028 election, their players right now are Kathy Hochul, um, Widmer, Gretchen Widmer. Uh, they have Governor J.B. Pritzker and Gavin Newsom. This is about the extent of their bench. They realize that they are a party in desperation, and they need new viable voices. And I believe that this video was trying to ramp up uh, the um, the public knowledge of people like Mark Kelly. Um, and they need that, right? They need somebody to come in and fill the void. That is that's where we're at. They are a party in utter duress. They're a party that's fiscally, emotionally, spiritually bankrupt. So they're trying to flounder and they're trying to find something to grasp a hold of. Of course, President Donald J. Trump came out and said, "Hey, listen, this looks like sedition to me. This looks like it's treasonous, and the penalty for treason or sedition can be execution. We haven't had one in a very long time, but it doesn't mean it can't happen." He didn't say go out and execute these people. He said this is one of the consequences for seditious behavior. It's not the only consequence. Now, he believes they should be locked up. I mean, he's been very firm with his words. And, you know, obviously they need to be held accountable. No one is above the law. And that is something that they repeated over and over and over and over and over again with Donald J. Trump. No one's above the law. And yes, they are correct. No one is above the law. Donald J. Trump had to walk the gauntlet of craziness, of being accused and to be falsely accused of perpetrating crimes that he never committed. Obviously, that's the reason he is sitting in the Oval Office now, and Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or anybody else that they would have tried to run against Trump has not taken the helm as commander in chief. So with that, keep an eye on this. This is interesting. A little firing over old Mark's bow to come and make him, he obviously knew when he retired. And I'm certain that he's probably, I can't say this, 100%, but I am pretty confident, I should say, that he is getting a benefit from the United States government for his service as a retired member. So that's also in play, besides the benefits he's getting from the federal government as a United States senator, which are probably too long of a list to name, especially in the positions that he holds. So, and the fact that he's out there campaigning right now, looking for additional funding for his next run for office, whether that be for the United States Senate or for a higher aspirations to take on the presidency of the United States of America. So, all right. It is Thanksgiving week. We are approaching Thanksgiving Day. For those that weren't on the front end of the show, I'm not going to be here Thursday. I want you to go out and enjoy your family. There's a lot to be thankful for. And it doesn't have to be a conversation about politics, but one of the things that we should be thankful for on this Turkey Day, gobble, 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 is we should be, thank you, Pam. You're Johnny on the spot. You're Pam on the spot. No one above the law except for Dems. None of them are getting the consequence. Yeah, you're right. But we're not going to stop. We're going to continue to put the pressure on them as they did with the 4 years of Biden's administration. We're going to keep putting the pressure on them. One of the things we need to be thankful for is there is a plan to end the war in Ukraine. Now, there's another great piece out there, and I want to pull it up because it comes from the gentleman I've shared with you. If you're not tuning into Michael McEwen out of Arizona, you need to do that. Mike is pretty dynamic as far as a writer, kind of similar to Elaine. He just comes out and just the facts, right? Just the facts. But this one I can open up and share with you, and we'll just wrap up today's show with this. And this is cool because he's got some of the coolest graphics for some of his articles again. Once again, shout out to Michael McCune. And this article hits it right between, you talk about playing T-ball. I love the picture of generated, obviously, AI, Trump, Gorbachev and Zelensky, a little chess match there, Trump in the middle. Trump knows the only win left isn't over land, it's our lives. Everyone loves a happy ending, and they always turn on the man who forces them to confront the reality that sometimes there isn't going to be one, meaning a happy ending. Months ago, when I broke down that televised meeting between Trump and Zelensky, it became the post heard around the world. Why? Because bias blinds left, right, up, down, and it keeps people from seeing the truth. Some conflicts don't end with applause. Sorry, I have to open it up. Don't end with applause. Some only end when someone runs out of strength, leverage, or blood, which, folks, we all know, and it's been reported, the loss of life is beyond measurable. I mean, the families impacted on both sides, the Ukrainians, the Russians, it's sad. And as President Trump has repeated many times over, if he were in charge, if the election of 2020 wasn't stolen, which, oh, by the way, it was stolen. Another video I'm going to cover in the next show when we come back next week. There's a lot coming out about what transpired in the 2020 election. Stay tuned. But if Trump would have been president, this war would have never happened. Now, granted, if Trump would have been president, we wouldn't have realized everything we've realized about what took place during the Biden administration, and you name it, all the different conspiracies that came true, right? The conspiracy facts. But anyhow, Russia and Ukraine is exactly that. And now here we are, congressmen and senators already attacking Trump's negotiations, claiming the American people won't accept the outcome. Here's the reality they can't grasp. Neither the American people nor Donald Trump are in charge of the Ukraine or are in charge of Ukraine or Russia. Trump is a mediator, using whatever leverage he can to pull both sides toward at least terrible outcome possible. The least terrible outcome possible. And like it or not, war runs on leverage, not emotion. Hold on, I want to make sure that you guys can see that. I want to add myself to it here. It doesn't run on emotion. War runs on leverage. No nation enters a war believing they are the villain. No one does. There are always two perspectives. Contrary to the radical crazy left, they will tell you that Russia, and no one, there's no excuses. Both of these leaders are not looking out for their people. They were willing to literally go scorched earth at the expense of Ukrainians, people, babies, children, Zelensky, Putin, Vladimir Putin, can care less. In fact, both of these individuals, I think, are a big part of a lot of criminality worldwide, specifically human trafficking. That's another show. But there are always two perspectives, even when Americans only want to see one. And when two sides reach an impasse, the side with the most leverage sets the ending. That is an opinion. That's the physics of conflict. A leader with superior leverage cannot simply concede without shattering his entire regime. And after this much destruction, neither side is going to shrug, shake hands, and return everything to normal. That's not reality. That's Hollywood, which unfortunately a lot of people live in the land of make-believe, which is Hollywood, including the governor of Illinois. Trump understands that Trump understands what I said 8 months ago, meaning Michael McEwen. Russia has the leverage, and the side with the leverage wins, which means Ukraine will concede territory, or there will be no agreement at all. Trump can only mediate the margins, how much Ukraine can give and how little Russia will accept. And this is the truth no one wants to admit. This war has become a fight over land versus lives. I love that. Democrats are already licking their chops, preparing to blame Trump the moment Ukraine is forced to give up land. They will paint territorial concessions as Trump's failure instead of acknowledging the reality of war. But think clearly for one moment. Russia is the superior power. They are not going to back off, hand everything back, shake hands, and say, oops, sorry. That is not how power works. So while people attack Trump because he refuses to endlessly funnel billions more to in taxpayer money, not to save lives, but to try to make sure Ukraine doesn't lose property, they miss the core truth. Donald Trump is trying to save lives. Who see this as a loss of land have been conditioned to believe that territory matters more than human beings. And the irony is almost poetic. The same Democrats and socialists who preach compassion the loudest are the ones pushing to prolong a war where nearly 6,000 people die every week over land we do not control in a country we do not govern. That was true then. It is even more true now. After millions dead and thousands more dying every week, I understand the anger. Americans don't like this reality. Ukrainians don't like it. Russians don't like it. No one does. Everyone wants a happy ending. So do I. But I'm a realist. In war, outcomes are set by leverage, not hope, by capacity, not sentiment, by power, not preference. And after this much destruction, only one leader will walk away having gained more than the other. Like it or not, it will be Putin, and that's pretty much the rest of the story. Um, I appreciate Michael share truth, not outrage, hope, not fear, and he is from Benson, Arizona. But what a great article! Share that one with your friends. Share it with everybody, especially as I opened up with sharing that article. It's Thanksgiving time. If indeed there's peace in Ukraine, with the loss of land and no more loss of life. That's something to be thankful for. We all could, we can all hope that we never see a conflict like that again. Unfortunately, that's not the way the world works. That's not how man works. Man operates on emotion. Man operates on their physical being. It's not their spiritual being. What the world needs now is more Jesus. That's what the world needs. And that's what I need. And I think that's what we all need, right? I need more Jesus. I mean, I already know the presence of our risen Lord lives inside of me. However, I get caught up like you do. And that's why I think Mrs. Producer was putting out that warning on her social media page. Don't get caught up in it, folks. It's too easy. Believe me. I know I'm guilty. And this is not a time for that. This is a time for peace. This is a time to reconcile with those folks if you can. Like I said, some folks they don't want to be reconciled with. They want to live in the land of make believe. They want to live in this utopia that can never exist. They want to be ugly. They don't want to surrender their lives to the love of Jesus Christ. Hey, look at that, Mrs. Producer. That was very good. Thanksgiving is a time for peace and reconciliation. Folks, that's what it's about. Be thankful, be grateful, love unconditionally. And that's not always easy, but it's what Christ wants us to do. In God we trust. In Christ we live. And in order to live in Christ, we have to show that kind of love because he loved us first, right? All right. Happy Thanksgiving, Mark, to you. Happy Thanksgiving, Pam. And for all of us, let's go ahead and wrap it up on this eve of Thanksgiving. Dear eternal and gracious Father, we continue to pray for everyone out there that is struggling during this season, whether it would be in a faraway land, or right here where we live, where we dwell, each one of us. Lord, let us be an instrument of your peace. Let us be an instrument of thanksgiving and gratitude. Lord, give us wisdom, give us knowledge. Lord, help us, move us to breathe in Jesus and to breathe out Jesus. That's what life is about. That's what truly matters. Lord, I thank you for this opportunity to be behind this mic, and everyone who will hear these messages, who will hear these shows. Lord, continue to guide everyone and to lead everyone into the way of truth, which is your Son, Jesus Christ. It's in his precious blood we pray. Amen. All right. I will not be here Thursday. I I love you. Jesus loves you more. Happy Thanksgiving. Until next Tuesday, it'll be a big show. I bid you farewell.